Velina's dropping in Zenless 3.0, and this is going to be a very fast and simple guide on if you want to pull the character or if you want to pull someone else. Leading with that, Velina is a wind anomaly sub-DPS agent, which is similar to Vivian and or Bernice. These agents are known for swapping in, pressing EX, and then mainly leaving the field, even though you can play aggressive with them or use them as a main DPS with the right supports. But you might be saying, I already own Vivian or I already own Bernice. Why would I pull Velina? Well, it's very simple. Since the beginning of the game, disorders have been a thing, and disorders are really strong. You know, agents like Bernice can trigger them with her potential unlock 6, and Yanagi makes full use of them by it being a main source of her damage. Then comes Vivian with Ablooms, which now in current day Zenless, Ablooms are almost in a good portion of anomaly character kits, that being Arya and Premia. What makes Velina such a good and powerful character that you should consider in the future is that because she's Wind, she has something else that overrides disorders, this being Windswept and Vortex. Now specifically Vortex, which is the main one that overrides disorders, has the unique property where when proccing an anomaly attack, i.e. let's say we use Jane Doe. If Jane were to proc an attack on an enemy that's suffering from wind attribute damage, so they're under the Windswept effect, it would proc Vortex, which overrides Disorder. And what that does is practically duplicate the damage that Jane did. So let's say Jane did 1,000,000 assault damage. Vortex, in this case, would also do 1,000,000 assault damage plus some extra benefits on top with different multipliers and effects. Now, I feel like that should be enough to understand why that is powerful, because, for example, imagine any anomaly character in your control being able to practically do double the amount of damage they do for an anomaly proc just by having a character proc Windswept on your team. And what makes this better is that just like Vivian, Velina's benefits to Vortex and Windswept are so high where realistically you're not only doubling your damage, you're doubling and then adding on top of that by doing more because of Velina. So to summarize my talking points, Vortex can double your agent's damage for one. It can add extra damage on top of it, as Vortex does have its own multiplier and does do more than the regular anomaly proc. But as a bonus that I forgot to mention, not only does it override disorders, it can be procced consistently, very consistently, meaning that you're constantly doing this improved more damage than you would, let's say, disorders. Now, like I said, Vortex overrides disorders, which for certain characters that mainly care about only their anomaly focused damage, like Jane, Piper, Grace, Premia, Arya to an extent, that means that characters that rely on disorders for resource building or damage, like Yanagi, Alice, or Miyavi, do not have the best synergy, and actually, in one of their cases, that being Yanagi, might be more detrimental than using someone like Na Guangyu, Vivian, or whatever other anomaly character you already have. To keep it very short, it's simple for why those three characters are probably not the best to have Velina for or on a team together, is that being that since Velina and Vortex overrides Disorder, Yanagi can't get an extra disorder and can only rely on Polarity Disorder, which would probably do less damage because of that. Alice cannot build resources as fast because she needs it to do an enhanced basic attack. And Miyavi can also not build resources as fast, as disorders are heavily important to her building resources for her enhanced basic attack. However, Miyavi still works fine with Velina, it's just probably not super synergistic, and you should probably use someone else. But if you like them, go ahead, do it, you know, you have free will. Now, before moving on to the rest of the characters that synergize and then ending the video, I do want to explain one of Velina's best synergies with one of the characters I've mentioned, that being Jane. if you have Jane and you like using Jane like I do, you get Velina. There's no if, ands, or buts. You get that character. You get that character as soon as possible. The reason I'm saying is so much is because Jane makes Assault Anomalies crit, which since Vortex copies the effect of the anomaly and has added damage because of Velina adding damage to that Vortex and a whole lot of other stuff, I think you can imagine how much damage Jane would possibly do with her own anomaly damage tacked on to Vortex anomaly damage, which, mind you, can proc consistently. So now you have a character who makes Assault Anomalies crit, doing a buttload of damage back to back to back, over and over again. With that being said, if you have an anomaly character that focuses on doing a bloom-based main damage, Velina is still a great pickup. She does good damage, she helps you do more damage, and in general, you should definitely consider it. However, it's definitely not a must-have, but it's an incredibly strong character. So if you like the character, pull for, you know, free will and all that, but it's up to you. With all that being said, let me know if you'll pick up Velina or not. She's definitely a great add, even for those characters I mentioned that don't synergize as well as other characters. You should definitely consider it, and I just want to say thank you for watching the video.